Hey there, friends. I have a sad yet equally infuriating story to share with you guys today regarding a man that just wants to live his life with his family in a rural part of America and not bother anybody, but because he's associated with firearms, somebody's jacking with him. But first, go check out my friends, Attorneys on Retainer. I mentioned in a video a couple of weeks ago that insurance companies will keep you out of the poorhouse, but attorneys will keep you out of the big house. Attorneys on Retainer does just that. There are only 3 qualifiers for coverage. These are if you're charged with a crime, misdemeanor, or a felony, that you reasonably and in good faith assert self-defense as a defense to the criminal charge that you are being charged with. And of course, the third qualifier, you have to have already been a customer of Attorneys on Retainer prior to making that very important phone call to them. They are owned by a criminal defense law firm, not just backed by an insurance company. They won't drop you from coverage or ask you to pay them back. They offer plans with uncapped attorney's fees and court costs for both your criminal and civil defense. Go to attorneysonretainer.us. Again, attorneysonretainer.us. When you sign up, use my discount code FTATF and get a massive discount on your policy. Again, FTATF for huge savings, attorneysonretainer.us. Friends, our story starts with a gentleman named Corey who lives in Indiana. Now, I'm going to share his address and everything with you, but I'm not going to share his last name. And of course, I don't want to share the pictures of his family, his children, to protect their own privacy. Corey reached out to me. Corey follows the videos that I put out, and he has a story that will really piss you off. Corey lives on a street in Williams, Indiana called North Sandstone Road. His house is located at 605 North Sandstone Road. It's a beautiful setup in the hills of Indiana with a big red barn in the backyard. He's got a farm that he works, animals on it, chickens, pigs, goats. Just a postcard picture of what true working class Americans are like and what the backdrop is with their lives. Corey runs a couple of businesses. He's got his own dumpster company. He's also a handyman. But he's got one thing that the powers that be apparently are not really happy with, and it's perfectly legal. On this beautiful, sprawling piece of property, you will notice that there is a business, a small business, located on the property. Although it has a different address, it is located on the property. That small, honest business is Corey's small gun shop called Buy and Sell in the Sticks. And let me tell you, Corey's place is absolutely in the sticks. It is appropriately named Buy and Sell in the Sticks. It's a small, modest gun shop, but it is an honest living. Nothing illegal takes place here. Nothing illegal is sold here. This is a man making an honest living in the hills of Indiana. Now, all that sounds pretty great, right? I mean, this guy's living out in the country. He can go out in the backyard, fire his firearm if he wants to. Heck, if he's got somebody that comes into his little modest gun store, if they want to take something out back and test fire it, they can do that as well. This is what I would consider the American dream. Beautiful family, honest living, beautiful spread. But that's where the story takes a turn. You know, we're all mandated to have insurance. You can't function in life anymore without having insurance. Unfortunately, insurance is mandated upon all of us. It's also mandated upon Corey. Corey has had an insurance policy with Indiana Farm Bureau since 2020. He's got his home, he's got his property, he's got his auto, he's even got business insurance. His handyman insurance is insured through Farm Bureau as well. All of his businesses and every single thing that he can insure is all done because he's a loyal customer through Indiana Farm Bureau. Corey's agent texted him a few days ago. First text says, "Hey Corey, this is so-and-so getting some questions from underwriting about your gun shop. Can you tell me where it's located? We currently have it at your home address." Corey responded, "It is on the same property as the farm, 599 North Sandstone Road." Now, just to be clear, looking at this picture, 599 North Sandstone is the gun shop. 605 next door to it, which is a different address altogether at 605, not 599 where the shop is. 605 North Sandstone is his home. They share the same property, but they are specifically different addresses for every single reason. Insurance reasons, tax reasons, everything. Probably looking at a good 20 yards away from it. When he responds that it's pretty much on the same property, although he didn't go into detail with the guy and say it was a different mailing address or property address, it is not the same location. It may be on the same property, but it is not the same location. Again, they do not share the same roof or even the same address. The agent responded, "I was afraid you were going to say that. Farm Bureau is not going to let us renew the commercial or farm policy with a gun shop on the same premises. I don't have any outlets to write a gun shop, unfortunately." Finally, after some discussion, the final text from the agent said, "I'm sorry, man. I have done everything I can. Underwriting is not going to let us renew your farm or commercial policy because of the gun shop being so close to your home. I would bet that," and then the guy suggests a company can get you a policy for everything. Now, I want you to see that sentence right there. Underwriting is not going to let us renew your farm or commercial policy because of the gun shop being, quote, so close to your home. They don't say how far away it has to be or how close is too close. They just ambiguously state it's close to your home. Apparently too close for their liking. Now, I wanted to be very clear on how Corey stood with Farm Bureau. Without this information, some people would say, oh, he probably didn't pay his bill, so they're not renewing it. Somebody's going to be smart about that and act like Corey did something wrong. I wanted to show you these documents right here. These are from Corey's app with Farm Bureau. Welcome, Corey. Member since 2020. It's 4 years ago that he's had all these policies with Farm Bureau. If you notice, these are all the different types of policies that I have in red. Policy HO Platinum, HO3, HO Indwelling. I'm assuming that's homeowner or something like that, having to do with the home. Farm endorsements, farm property and liability policy. Again, everything that he could purchase to insure his business, his home, himself, his vehicles, he did loyally as a good customer of Farm Bureau through them. Notice this next entry on the app that he has with Farm Bureau. It says policy dates 3/11/2023, that's last year, to 3/11/2024, that's this year. Note down at the bottom, no invoices due. You know why that is? It's because they are dropping him. Because of the proximity of his gun shop being close, not under the same roof, just close, again with no definition of how close is too close, Farm Bureau sent him a letter stating, after reviewing the above policy, we find we will not be able to renew your policy. All coverage on this policy will terminate on the termination date shown above. That's the date of March 11th, 2024. Now, all this correspondence comes from Indiana Farm Bureau. Farm Bureau is a nationwide company. Each state has its own division of it. I did some digging and understanding, I'm not an insurance guy, but understanding how the insurance business works, you basically have insurance agents who are essentially brokers, and they try to find people to pay for the policies, the underwriters. The underwriters are the people who fund those policies. So you're pretty much, as an agent, even though you represent Farm Bureau, you're not playing with Farm Bureau money. You're playing with underwriter money. So you're at the mercy of the underwriter as far as writing that particular policy. Again, I know I've probably misspoke in some terms because I'm not an insurance guy, but I'm trying to simplify it as best we can because we're not going to go into a full-blown discussion about how the insurance business works. So I found this Farm Bureau National Policy of 2023. This is last year at their annual meeting. This was interesting. If you look at Farm Bureau as a company, they appear to be very conservative. Look where they say we support. This is in general. They talk about the Constitution. They talk about English being established by law as the official language of the United States. Very unusual to see a company, a national company, openly state that and not receive blowback, which, I mean, kudos to them for doing this. I'm just saying, I was very shocked to see that. And if you go on more specifically, you see some of the things where they talk still about the Constitution, very much referencing the Constitution. Well, they get even more specific when it comes to firearms and saying what they support. Safety programs, legislations that would prohibit lawsuits against firearms manufacturers, mandatory imprisonment of persons convicted of a felony involving use of firearms. Now, they do talk about state-issued individual concealed carry permits being recognized nationally, so they do support the permit process, but they also support nationwide reciprocity. They even go on to state that they support the removal of suppressors from the NFA. And other things they don't support, they talk about a lot of the things that we talk about all the time. So it's like these guys are in lockstep with us. In fact, if you notice, they don't support, look at the very last one, gun-free zones, including military bases. That's not the leanings of a far-left anti-gun organization. So it had me scratching my head. This guy's an agent of Farm Bureau, I understand the whole underwriting process. These guys seem really, really pro-Second Amendment, or at least pro-Constitution. How is this guy being denied insurance simply because of geography? Again, we're not talking about under the same roof. I want to make that very, very clear. If they were under the same roof, I could see where there would be a bit of a conflict. You know, you're living here, but this is also your business. Maybe they have some kind of wording in their policy that states that you can't. No, that's not what we're not even talking about that. He lays his head on a pillow that's not under the same roof, that's 20 or 30 yards away from the place where he has a commercial license to sell firearms legally with a legal FFL, if you want to call it that, as a token of the ATF giving him permission to sell firearms. So I cannot put this on Farm Bureau specifically, because again, while they may be doing business with an underwriter, they are not the ones who have underwritten this and made this decision. They are simply the, I guess, bearer of bad news, if you will. I went back to the letter that they sent Corey, and I found at the very bottom in pretty bold letters, Farm Underwriting, United Farm Family Mutual Insurance Company. Guys, I've done a lot of research. I've looked at open secrets. I've done a lot of stuff today to try to figure out this underwriting company, where they stand, because they are the ones who ultimately made this decision, told the agent, who then in turn had to tell Corey, we are dropping you just because of this reason. I've even enlisted the help of my good friend John Crump, one of the better investigative journalists that I know, and he's doing some running on this right now to try to figure out, get some information on United Farm Family Mutual Insurance Company, the underwriting company. I wanted to put this video out so you know what's going on, and we're working on this. But this is a travesty. This is a man who's trying to provide for his family, who's doing nothing illegal. He's playing by the rules, and he's playing by the rules here because his address did not change all of a sudden. The 599 address where the gun shop is, and the 605 address where he lays his head at night to go to sleep, and his family does, where he feeds his family, those addresses have been the same since 2020, whenever Farm Bureau signed him up in the first place. They gathered all of this information in 2020 when they signed him up. They were happy to take his money for the last 3+ years, knowing all of this information. He changed nothing. He didn't change the address. He didn't suddenly notify them that they're on the same property. They even agreed to insure his business. They agreed to insure his home, knowing they sat right next to each other. In fact, a lot of insurance companies, whenever they're providing this kind of coverage, especially this type of policy, as big a policy, sometimes we'll send an adjuster or someone out there to look at the property. Because you don't want to say, this is the value of this property. You don't want to say this is the value of his gun shop when there might not be a gun shop there. You can't always just take the person's word for it. Usually you have pictures on file, because what happens if it burns down? You need proof of what was there before. So these people knew this. Farm Bureau and the underwriters knew this. Again, it's hard for me to be too hard on Farm Bureau because I feel like they have very similar views to you and I. However, they are in bed with this underwriting company. They do work with this underwriting company. They may not have final say on who they can write a policy for based on whatever the ambiguous things are that the underwriting company is stating here for why they're dropping it. They may not have that control, but they are still in business with this underwriting company. Somebody needs to be held to account on this. As soon as John Crump, again, thank you so much, John, for helping with this. But as soon as John and I can figure out what's going on with this underwriting company, we're going to pass that information back on to you guys, because this is wrong. Again, this is a man trying to feed his family and doing everything, playing by the rules. And he's getting jacked with simply because somebody doesn't like guns. So they're trying to find some kind of technicality to deny this man coverage for everything. So apparently the wackos on the far left don't even like money now. They're that hung up on their principles where they're willing to sacrifice money just to say, ha ha, look what we did.
God save the Queen, man.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America.
He's over.